Hi, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to look at some exercises for right hand and left hand technique to get you plucking the string correctly and walking the fingers and also synchronizing the left hand. So we're going to be going through a series of exercises that will get you playing and practicing over the next couple of weeks, really working on generating a sound and getting a bit more fluid and fluent with the mechanics of playing, which is what you're going to need to go on to the next steps. So to start with, I want you to go into our default position, which is what we were talking about last week, just moving to that default position. And by now, hopefully you're getting a sense of where those strings are, which is index finger or the I, the middle finger or the M, and the A finger or the annular, the ring finger, I, M, A, and then thumb is going to be P. Now the thumb can really sit anywhere around here. And like I was sort of mentioning last week, there's a bit of a gap here in the middle, which is going to allow for swing space. Okay, so what we're going to do to start with is just practicing moving the finger from the large joint. So each finger we're going to be moving up and down from the large joint. And that's the main power finger. So basically that's where you need to start thinking about plucking from. So there are three stages to plucking the string. We place the finger, then we press, and then we release. Now we're basically talking about a rest stroke, apoyando or picando as they call it in flamenco, which is striking towards the string and then continuing down until you rest on that string above. So you're going to do that with your first finger, then you're going to do it with your second finger, your M finger, and then you're going to go down and practice it. So that's your rest stroke, pushing down, resting. Important that you generate the power from the large knuckle. Then what we're going to do is to practice the arpeggio, we're going to move the hand down. We're going to do the same technique, but this time because the knuckles are a bit lower, we're going to miss that string above. So we're going to come down, place the finger, pressure, release, and then we're going to continue that finger going upwards. Middle finger, A finger on the first string. Okay, so there's two right hand exercises you can start practicing straight away. Bear in mind that it's the knuckle joint that decides, where the large knuckles, that decides if you're doing a rest stroke or a free stroke. And those two types of techniques will be used for a variety of different types of music. Essentially, when we're playing a lot of melodic music, we're going to be using a lot of rest stroke. It's also more powerful and a better sound. And the arpeggio is when we're playing, obviously arpeggios, chords playing. Okay, so the second exercise we're going to do is a rest stroke exercise. So the knuckles are going to be back a bit with the I and the M finger. I want you to just start practicing alternating those two fingers. Alright, so you're going to do that on the first string and then you're going to move to the second string. It's going to feel a little unusual to start with. Third string. Now you can keep going down all the way down. And so we start by moving this direction. You can also practice going back down. You can also just practice just the top three strings if you're most comfortable with that. The next thing I would get you to do is just practice a simple rhythm. So I would generally start students playing. I practice that. So I'd be practicing that on each string, moving all the way down. And then a different rhythm would be do that all the way down. When I say down, I'm generally talking about the pitch of the strings, but the actual direction is up. But I like to talk musically, so all the way down the strings. Bear in mind, you are going to miss strings sometimes. Sometimes you're going to move in and out of rest stroke and free stroke. So just try and go, when you're doing the rest stroke, to really feel the string where it's resting afterwards. The other thing to think about is just when one finger goes down, the other finger goes up, finger goes down, the other finger goes up, and you really start to get that movement. If you want to generate that speed, it's going to have to be done a lot. So I would just sit there and practice it as often as you can and really get comfortable with the right hand. Then once you've done that, you can also practice your arpeggio technique, in which case we're going to bring the thumb into it. Now the thumb striking is just a straight down and out. So rest, place, rest, release. And then we're going to do the same with the index finger. So with the arpeggio, we generally start with the fingers down. So the placing's already done. Pressure, release, pressure, release, pressure, release. Don't forget that we've moved our knuckles down to get that swing space. And the result is that all the strings are ringing, which is really fantastic, which is what we want. Another arpeggio exercise is to bring the thumb to the third string, and then we bring the middle, the I, M fingers on the second and first string. So we're going to be just concentrating on the top three strings, and the same sort of idea. We're just going to be playing. So we're going to get rid of that low bass note and just practicing the top three strings. Now this technique's really useful when you're doing arpeggios on the top three strings, and there's a lot of pieces that utilize that technique. Okay, now just to get you started with the left hand, last week we spoke about keeping the fingers nice and spread, choosing a fret for each finger, and the fingers being curved around a little bit. So this finger pressing down on its side a bit more. The two middle fingers are pressing more or less straight, and then the pinky is going to be a little bit more on that side. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is the finger names. We use numbers on the left hand. For these exercises, we're going to go to first position, which is a little bit more spread out because the frets are a bit more spread out. Now, once you've gotten comfortable playing index, middle, and walking the fingers well enough, then you can start bringing in the left hand. Our thumb's going to be low, our fingers are going to be spread out, and we're going to be taking care of the first, second, third, and fourth frets. We're going to start by playing 4 notes on each. All right, start with your M finger, count to 4, and then we're going to put our first finger on the first fret. Take note that I'm playing right near snug against the fret, and my thumb is quite low. There's a little bit of a gap here underneath. Then we move to the second fret, then we move to the third fret, then we move to the fourth fret. You don't have to keep all your fingers down as you move up. You can sort of just transfer the weight, or you can, if you like, just to make it a bit more challenging. For the second exercise, we're going to start on the first fret, and we're going to play 2 notes with the fret down and 2 notes with the fret up. Okay, so we're going to go 1, 2, release. Then we're going to go second fret, same thing. Third fret. Fourth fret. Okay, so if you haven't played much before, this will all be a bit of a challenge. So take your time, sort of work out how to do it, start playing slowly, and then slowly build up your speed. The main thing is that it's played evenly. The next challenge level will be to play each note twice. So we're going to start with the first fret and play that down, and then the second note with the finger raised. When you pluck the first note, you're going to pluck that with your index finger, and then when you pluck it open, you're going to pluck that with your middle finger. So index, middle, index, middle, and then we go second fret, then we go third fret, then we go fourth fret. Good, so I would continue those exercises all the way up the neck, and it gets more difficult, more of a stretch, and keep your fingers as on the tip as possible, spread out, low thumb. So there's a lot of synchronizing required there. There's a lot of synchronizing required for those exercises. So really that's why I've started with the right hand, and it's going to take you a little while to get used to that right hand movement. It takes a long time actually to really make it a habit. I call it the engine room because it's the engine of playing. You really need to have an automated kind of right hand. And then once you bring the left hand in, if things get more tricky because your brain's trying to work out 2 things at the one time. So the more that you've got the right hand sorted, the easier you're going to find it to sort of think about what this hand is doing. So really what I've given you is strengthening exercises and coordination exercises for both hands. And once you get through that, if you're doing it sort of every day, those exercises, then you will slowly start to get more comfortable. We haven't gone into sort of what notes you're playing or anything like that. It's just simply mechanics at the moment to really become like the mechanics of the instrument. Like if you're playing piano, you don't have to worry so much about that because the piano itself takes care of all the mechanics. But in order to get going with an instrument as challenging as the classical, the nylon, the fingerstyle guitar, you really need to work on those mechanics first. And it's not really that easy to start with, and a lot of you probably won't persevere. But let me know in the comments what you're having trouble with. This is like the early phases of playing, and it's a real challenge to a lot of students. But I have to say that if you practice this quite diligently and every day, then I think you'll find that you'll start to be able to play melodies pretty quickly, and then we can start getting on to getting the thumb involved and doing some basic accompaniment with your note playing, but also your arpeggio, which we'll be looking more into next week. There's a drills video that I have in the channel, which I'm going to post up above, and that shows you a number of various drills that I do with my students, that my students have to memorize, and we do it at the start of every lesson. And there's a few extra ones there that I haven't shown you. So if you want more exercises, then by all means have a look at that drills video, and it's a really good one just to warm up. There's no talking, we go straight in and play along with me. So I hope you found that useful. If you did find it useful, share it with a friend who wants to learn the fingerstyle guitar, and let me know if you've got any questions. Please give it a like, because it does help with YouTube search, and it's just good to get the word out on how to play guitar well and setting up your fingers properly. Because from 40 years experience and 30 years of teaching, I have really come to understand that you really need to set things up properly. Otherwise, later on down the track, and you might be in this position if you've already started playing, you have to move backwards, go backwards and fix old mistakes. But it's an exciting journey, and it's such a beautiful instrument that once you set up how to play properly and you start making beautiful melodies and arpeggios, nice melodies and arpeggios, you'll find that you get a lot of enjoyment out of it. If you enjoyed this video and the channel and you haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and do that. I'd like to see you back here and having more conversations around playing this beautiful style of guitar. That's it for me, and I'll see you next Monday for the next video.